Hello everyone, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here today again to discuss and go through another very interesting development that is kind of like a follow-up on from my last video. But again, in order to follow it, you don't have to watch the previous video. It's just going to help if you do. Anyway, if you're not familiar with my channel, I would really suggest please go through the videos that I do with various technologies, especially web-based technologies and Android-based technologies, whether it's Java, SQL, Next.js, JavaScript-based technologies like Next.js, React.js, and AngularJS. My channel actually has several playlists, and the video that I created last time was under this playlist. And what it did actually, I'm going to go there right now. This is the video I'm talking about. It basically created a simple web application using Next.js and React.js that kind of shows a live cryptocurrencies market watch using API from CoinGecko basically, and it was very easy to see, and also code was very straightforward. So this is kind of how it looked like. If you didn't see it last time. So this is the application. All it does is it's going to refresh every 60 seconds. It'll give you real-time cryptocurrencies news, like what's their high and low, and percentage change, their name, icons, something simple. And this is actually only getting the first 250 coins because there's about 10,000 plus coins in CoinGecko API. And since this is a demo, I did not go through all of them. But you'll get the some good ones, like let's say if you wanted to go to bitcoins and those bitcoins. By the way, I have used a technology called DataTables from Content Development Networks. It's free to use, and I haven't seen so far anyone using this thing in React or Angular. So I thought this was probably a good exposure to the technologies, as it's very simple to use and also is extremely capable. Anyway, enough about the last video. So what are we doing today? So what we're going to do today is we're going to create the exact same thing, but using a different technology. The technology I'm going to use today is going to be pure Java based. But of course, if you're familiar with my channel, in the previous Java based web applications, I've used Spring Boot a lot, Spring Boot and also Apache Timeleaf. Today, I'm going to use actually a different technology. And even though the technology will be Java JEE based, it will not be Spring Boot, because I have been using Spring Boot and Apache Timeleaf for my previous Java tutorial videos. So today I'm going to use something different. So to show you that it can be done in any various technologies that's available out there that is extremely capable and enterprise grade. The Java JEE web stack that I'm going to use today, it's called Struts2. It is actually built by Apache. And also I'm going to use a plugin called Struts2 jQuery plugin, which is originally developed by Google. And using those two technologies, you can actually build enterprise grade applications and also build applications like this, like Spot, single page applications. Before I start, if you're not familiar with my channel, please go ahead, look at my various videos, and also do subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you get notifications for any new videos that I do. So let's get to it. The very first thing that you're going to need is the Java, of course. If you have not downloaded Java, please go ahead, download it from OpenJDK. The version that I would recommend for today's tutorial is the version Java 19. We're not ready for the 21 yet, because this stuff that I'm going to talk about has some limitations on the Eclipse that I'm going to use. It doesn't support 21. After downloading and unzipping the Java 19 into your local drive, let's move on to the Apache Tomcat site. So you're going to need the Apache Tomcat server. Now we're going to use the version 9, not version 10, because version 9 is compatible with what we're going to do today. So download this based on your version. I typically like to download the zip version and unzip it on my local drive. But you could either use zip or you could either use the installable. Both works. Then the next thing is we're going to go ahead and download the Eclipse IDE for Enterprise Java and Web Developers. If you don't have it downloaded, please do download that. If you have it downloaded, great. You can skip this step. Once you're done downloading and installing the zip file, so we'll get the Eclipse IDE for Enterprise Java and Web Developers. Then move on to the GitHub URL, which is right here. I'll put the URL on the description below of this video so you can get it easily. And then we'll go from there. Open a command prompt on Windows, or in other platform, just open a terminal. Then the next thing we're going to do is go to your favorite directory and just type this git clone and the URL that you just copied, that you got from that GitHub. And then just hit enter. I'm not going to do it because I already have it there. So once you do it, it's going to get that code from GitHub. And then all you got to do is go to that folder to make sure that everything is there. So it will look something like this. And of course, if you are on Windows, it will look something like this. All of these files and folders are going to be there. I've already compiled it. That's why I have a target directory. You may not have a target directory, but that's okay. So once you have the code, the next thing is to build the code and run it, right? So open your Eclipse. So right now your Eclipse will look like this because I'm assuming you don't have any projects imported and you don't have any server imported as well. So the first thing you wanted to do is set up your JDK, which you could do it using Window, Preferences, go to Java, install JRE. I already have it added as my default because that's what I'm running on. But if you don't have it, you can just click on Add and do standard JVM, Next, and go to the location of where you install the Java and just use that, and that should do it for you. I've already done this, so I'm not going to do it. So once you have that, that means this is your default JDK, JDK 19. I have multiple ones, that's why you see the other entries. Then next thing to do is you need to add that Tomcat server as your local JEE container. So you're going to click on this and expand Apache, scroll down and choose Tomcat 9, choose Next, and it will give you the option, where do you have the Tomcat? See, I already have the Tomcat in this directory, and it knows that because I have already done this once. And then go ahead, choose that. You can either choose workspace default JRE, which is going to be 19 for me, or you could choose a specific one to be more comfortable, that I want to do 19. And then hit next. And we don't have an application right now. You hit finish. And then you'll have the server right here added, and you'll also have the servers kind of like projects in here. So just leave it like that. Next, we would like to import the project. So what you want to do is click on File, and then say import, and you wanted to make sure, see there are lots of choices, different projects. You wanted to expand the Maven, and we'll import this on as an Maven project. So click on existing Maven projects, hit next, and browse to the directory that you have put your project in. In my case, if you remember, I cloned it under this directory. So just go there and select that directory, and it'll automatically see there's a pom.xml file. That is the main configuration file for Maven. And then click finish and let Eclipse do its work. It will do its magic. It will try to import all the projects, try to compile, and do all this. And you can watch this at the bottom right corner, and it got everything there. So you have the project, so everything is good to go. Then what you want to do is expand this web app. By the way, you will have the web app, and you will also have the source code that is Java. We're going to build the project first. Look at this pom.xml file, and then go ahead, select, right-click on it. You can either click debug or run, either one would work. Click on debug as, and just go to Maven test. So that will kind of go through the compilation of it, and it will run the unit test that is actually here to make sure everything is good to go. So I have some unit tests created as well. That's what I do. So build is successful. Once it's successful, go back to your web resource, the deployed resources, and this index.jsp, right click there and go to debug or run, either one would work. I'm going to do debug as, debug on server, and that would automatically run this, and it will open it up in your favorite browser. In my case, it would open it up in my Firefox browser, and there you go, voila, it should look like this. It automatically, and as you could see, if you remember this version that was done in Next.js is exactly the same, except the look and feel changes. It is the same thing. It brought back the market watch from using CoinGecko API with 250 entries right here, and you can also do a search, and it will get to you pretty quickly once you do any text search. So let's see how the code looks like. First, you may want to go through these links. The first one is Struts2 tutorial. So this link, I'll put it in the description below of the video so you can get to it. And here, it actually has a very good set of documentation that you can look and follow to find out how to create a simple application using Struts2 and what is Struts2, how does the web application mechanism work. The next thing is I have also used a Struts2 jQuery plugin, which was initially built by Google and now it's open source. It is an extremely capable framework that can be used to build SPA application, like single page application that is extremely responsive. So one of the technology that I have used from this Struts2 jQuery is, of course, if you go to widget, DataTables. So this is the one that I've used on this application. And they give you a very good set of tutorials on what you could do to build this kind of thing, the JSP section of it, Struts2 action section of it, and what are the things that you need. So take a look at this. It's pretty cool, but of course I will mention what I have done briefly in my code as well. So once you are gone through these two tutorials, that is actually will be very helpful, not necessary but helpful. Then let's take a look at the code. The way Struts work, Struts has the core configuration stored in a resource file that is an XML file called struts.xml, right? So if you go expand these Java resources, go to the main resources and look at the struts XML, that is basically it. It actually literally configures everything that you would need. For example, stuff like this is development mode. When you put it in production, you turn it off, turn it false so that it doesn't give you all kinds of weird extra messages and doesn't reload a lot of things, which is against the performance. Then the next thing is, of course, what are the technologies that I'm going to use? I'm going to use stuff like JSON. I'm going to use a technology called tiles. If you recall, in Spring Boot, if you're familiar with my videos, in Spring Boot, in order to get a template-based web application, we used something called Apache Thymeleaf's layout. So this is kind of like that. It's like you can't build a single page web application without any templating. But I would suggest for enterprise level applications that has multiple pages with same header, footer, menu, or whatever other main common things that you have, to have something like this, something like templating. So that's what this is. Struts, it's very easy technology to use called tiles. So tiles is basically the templating, and JSON is what we're going to use to manipulate the data. And interceptors are basically called, anytime a request is made, what are the things that you want it to watch for, and anything that the request can intercept basically and do something about it. So some of those things are like default. I just added this CSP disabled. If you don't add it, you get all kinds of weird warnings, errors, and you can take a look at Struts documentation, what that is. That's out of the scope of this tutorial. Then this is just basically initializing the interceptor, and this is saying that go ahead, add the default interceptor as well with this interceptor that I just mentioned, the app default stack. That's what this is. Then the main parts are like these action classes. So Struts runs based on actions, right? Anytime you click on something, you're trying to build a dynamic page, a dynamic action, button click, something that needs to be brought in the background, you build an action. So I have two action classes here. The first one, as you could see, it's called star CoinGecko. That basically means, again, I really don't need a star right here, but just for a demo purpose, I showed it that this star basically means you can use a wildcard. Whatever star that is here, that can be passed as a method name right here. So if I call it, let's say, show CoinGecko, then I have to have a method called show, and inside that show method, I'm going to be doing all the work, and it will automatically make that call if you call the specific action. So that's how it works. So this one basically just brings the home page, and that's all there to it. And it says if the result is success, then go to a templating page that I've already declared called CoinGecko.screen. And that's where the tiles comes in that I mentioned before. That's the templating. So let's talk about the templating a little bit. If you expand the web INF content and it'll expand the layout, that's where I have the templates, right? Start with this template. So anything that you see, so this is what tiles is helping us with, right? First of all, I'm declaring all the common stuff that I'm going to include, this JavaScripts, things, the CSS. By the way, I'm using Bootstrap 5 as well here, the latest one, 5.3.2, and any header that you need. So typically, if you're using Struts2 tags and Struts2 jQuery tag, you're going to need these two. And the cool thing about Struts2 jQuery is you can use various themes. Here, I used Redmond theme. So let me just show you what that is. The Redmond theme is what we use. Is that guy right there. So that will have this look and feel, but it's extremely easy to change. I can go say, I don't like this theme, I like the leapfrog theme, and you can actually change it and everything will be changed. All you got to do is go ahead and put that name in there, leapfrog, and it will automatically change the look and feel. So it's pretty easy to change. Anyway, I'm using Redmond theme for Struts2 jQuery. And here is the body, of course, it shows that image in the background, common image. And then here it talks about, look, hey, make sure you put this common header. That's where the tiles comes in. Then I have the main page, I got my container, and here you're gonna go ahead and insert the body. So in reality, if you're building a web page, all you need to change is the page body. You don't need to work on any other stuff. Those are automatically given for you, the header, footer. So let's see what the header is and the footer is. Well, first of all, before I show you that, let me show you where are the configuration that define this page header, page body, and page footer. If you expand this web app, expand the web INF, expand right here, you will see that there are contents, but there's also tiles XML, which is same here as well. So if you click on that, this is kind of like the configuration file for the templating, the tiles. Here I define that, look, I'm going to have a template that's going to be extended. That's going to be basically using this template right here, right? And then it will have a page title that I can use as a tag. We'll have a page header that is pointed by this JSP. We'll have a page body that is empty that I can replace dynamically anytime. And then I have page footer that would be called this footer right here. So any of these is you can change it, but you know, most of the time headers and footer will be constant. And then if you recall, when we went to the struts XML, after someone calls CoinGecko action, if it's successful, the result, it needs to go to CoinGecko screen, and that is the screen that I'm defining right here. Hey, this screen extends the template, which basically means it is literally going to have all of these things automatically, right? Header, footer, body, and then all I have to do is implement this body section right here, which is pointed by CoinGecko JSP, which is right here. So it's just all, you know, pretty much structured, nicely structured, and this is what you want to use for any enterprise grade application. All right, so coming back to this, what is happening first? People are going to index.jsp, that's the very first JSP, and all it's doing is look at it, it's doing a send redirect CoinGecko.action. Looks familiar? That sounds like our action class, right? Anything that has a dot action kind of like needs to have an entry in the struts.xml. So it looks at here, and it doesn't have any prefix. It doesn't have something like, you know, show CoinGecko. So by default, it's just going to go to a default method in this action class called execute. So let's go to that default method, CoinGecko action. So it goes to this sources right here. So here you can expand the source, and here is the action class right here. And any action starts action class actually extends the default action support. And what we're looking for is the execute method. As you can see, all it does is nothing but sets up a message, and that's it, and just say return success. And This is the result that gets returned right here, and it sees that this is a success. And by the way, it's just a string. And even though it looks an identifier, if you look at it, it's just a string called success. And then success, it goes to the CoinGecko.screen. Let's look at what that is. The CoinGecko screen is basically the main meat. This is where it goes and loads that entire table right here, right? And the table, as I said, it is using its Struts2 jQuery tags and Struts2 jQuery stuff. So something it's using called SJDT, like Struts2 jQuery data table. This is exact same thing as what we used in the React Next.js. We use the data table, but we use the data table on the top of the React, but it's the exact same API that we're using. Here we are using the wrapper API is basically what I just showed you. It's the Struts2 jQuery data table. It's this one, and then of course we are using the red one thing. Let me take it there. All right, so that's all this is, and these are the tags. And again, if you want to go look at the details of the tags, go ahead, take a look at those references that I just put out. So it is basically saying that this is going to be the tag, and initially these are going to be the headers, and the headers are coming from something that is also mentioned in a service class. So what happens is, the way the design goes, action classes interacts with service classes, just like kind of like Spring Boot. And my only service class that I have is this guy right here, and this service class does the magic, right? Though first of all, you if you look at this JSP, the first thing it's doing is when it's building the headers, the table headers, it is using a struts tag called iterative, nothing but a loop. It's just a loop. It's saying that go ahead, get all the entries from this specific list. Now, if you can, this is called OGML expression that Struts2 uses. This is also built by Apache. You can literally directly reference a variable using this. @sign, this is a static variable going to this specific class, and this is a static variable, so to add that variable in that class. So it's a CoinGecko service class. Let's go look at there, and here's the variable header list, and this is the list of headers. So it's just going directly to that. It's pretty easy to understand, not rocket science. So it's getting it, and the status is basically saying when you're iterating through it, you can get to the first, the last, those specific entries. So that's what this is identifier will be used for inside this entry, inside basically this attributes and this tags. So then it's basically saying that, hey, look, if it's the first one, so I'm using this header status while iteration, make sure the width is 1%. That's the only difference it is. The rest of the stuff is exactly the same. And because if you look at it, the very first one has a very small width. It's got an icon, doesn't need a lot of width. And the rest of them is 14%. So that's what this is saying. And again, the way you get to a specific property on this thing is I can just do as property empty, meaning they will get every entry. You don't need to specify anything. Again, it can also work with not only a string array. In this case, this is a string array. It can work with an array list of a specific object, and you can get to the specific object seamlessly, very easily, and also work with hash map. So it's extremely capable and very easy to use. So this is literally printing or painting all the headers. And then this is what the magic happens. I don't have anything in the body, right? The footer, I have the same thing, exact same thing as this one right here, as you can see, which in a way you can see right here, not a problem. And then in the body, I don't have anything. So how is the body painted? Well, that's where this thing comes from. If you look at it, I'm using some class, and then what I'm using is an AJAX call, right? So what I'm saying is this table will be loaded via an AJAX call, and that's the beauty about it. You can load this thing multiple ways. I can load this table by putting a, literally hard-coded TDs and TRs, but in this case, I'm saying that I'm going to be reloading this multiple times, dynamically, single page application. So I want it to be very responsive. So get that AJAX, or the information rather, from that AJAX through this URL, and that's what this action method comes from. Get CoinGecko.action. See, So it's basically the way this thing works. It's going to make call to that action class, or the action entry rather, and then look for this specific variable called getter method for CoinGecko table list, and then it will go ahead and get that. Then you also see something interesting about Ajax reload topic, and this is also another neat thing about this Struts2 jQuery API is it is subscription consumer based. Like if I specify this Ajax reload topics, that basically means whoever triggers that topic will call this Ajax to be called again, and the table will be reloaded. So that's how this thing reloads automatically, seamlessly, very easily, no problem, without any issue. And then this thing just says title, and I'm just getting this thing from the resources, just like Spring Boot. You can have the resources in a separate file, and that is recommended for enterprise level applications for multi-language support. All the messages are right in here. That's the message that it's going to try to get. So that is. And then let's move on. Once it gets the table, it will just load it right here in the T-body section, and which is not shown here, but because it will be automatically loaded by the Ajax. And then let's look at this action entry. What does it do? So it actually is mapped with this guy, right? Get CoinGecko. You don't have to put the .action. .action is what I'm calling, but it knows to go here. And it's basically saying, go ahead, go to the action class. And in this case, it says, hey, if it's a success, make sure bring the entire JSON representation of this class, right? So what happens is it's going to go to this guy right here, and first of all, do the execute method, and then it will return anything that has a getter in there as a JSON. So there's a get message, it will return a message in the JSON. There is a get CoinGecko table list, it will return the CoinGecko table list JSON object from here. So let's see what this is. So now this is calling the CoinGecko service, get CoinGecko table list. So let's go to that method. So if you go to that method, that's right here. If you look at it, all it's doing is kind of like the similar thing that if you watched my previous video, that it is basically getting the list from the CoinGecko API. So first it is doing a ping. So that's exactly what I did on the other one as well. So this method, if you go there right here, all it's doing is it's calling the REST API that CoinGecko has, a ping method, and then basically checking, hey, if it's available. If it's available, it's just checking if it, based on this entry, it's available, then it will turn that to true, otherwise it's not, right? Now all of these API call that I make, it actually maps with the specific return response classes, right? That I know how the response would look like. So I had to create these record objects. Now remember, I'm using Java 19 after Java 16. Java has this very cool way of loading the POJOs as a record. And that actually helps us a lot. Doesn't have to create separate getters and setters. From this one, this is the response object that it's going to use. All it needs is this entry. And that's what it's going to return. And then after that is done, let's go back here. It returns is available. So it's basically saying if it's available, great, go move on. And it's basically saying make another call to the market. That's where it gets all the information about the current market watch. And in this one, it is mapping with an array list of the CoinGecko table, this POJO object right here, which is a record class right here. So that is that. So that looks a little complex, but it's basically a whole bunch of entries, and also has a little complex entry ROI, and that is defined right here. But it's all doubles, strings, and integers. So it basically returns all of this thing in this object automatically with an array list of that object. And then I'm just going through it. Now the way to get this Ajax thing work, it actually expects a list of a list. Okay, so that's what I'm building right there. So I'm basically building this guy out of this, because this is going to just give me a list of that specific object. From there, I am building a list of a list object, And the reason behind that list of a list is that list has to be what in a sequence. Whatever sequence I build that list, that's the sequence the column is going to be in. So first I have the image, then I have the symbol, the name, the price, high, low, change, and then I'm adding the row into the final list of list objects. So that's all this is doing, right? And then this thing is basically saying that once you build everything properly, if you remember, again, look at my other videos, that other video on the JavaScript version, I also did something like this. I said, what if this thing is not available, then, or something goes wrong, then I can seamlessly load it from a local file. So what I'm doing is, if I'm going to load it from a local file, I need to create one, right? So I'm taking this entire list and dumping it into a JSON file with the help of Jackson, which is very easy to use. So taking that entire list and dumping into a JSON file, which I'm going to use it. If you look at if this is not available in the else part, I'm throwing an exception saying CoinGecko API ping not API failed. So when I catch an exception, of course, I spit out the message. Then I'm trying to load the data from that file, JSON file. So it's basically very simple. The logic is go try to find out if the ping is available. Then go ahead, call the CoinGecko API and bring the list. If you're able to bring the list, go ahead, write it to the JSON file to keep it updated. If you cannot bring it for too many calls or if not available, then it's going to throw an exception, which means it's going to go to this block and it's going to try to load it from the local file, which will bring the last available data. And then it will return the list. And so it returns the list, it comes back out to this thing right here. And then if you go back to the JSP, you will see that, wrong one, sorry, you will see this JSP that the data source is CoinGecko table list, which is the getter method. So it's basically looking at that method's data, and it will know it's the list of a list and will automatically renders it. All right, so that's the beauty of it, magic. Now, how does it reload? There's also a little property that you will see right here that I put. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because this is not needed anymore. Just comment it out. But it's basically doing, deleted too much. Just going to delete this. Okay. It's loading this piece right here. See, countdown. There's a span right here. So how is it loading it? So there's this little timer that I have script that's running right here, the JavaScript. Very simple. It's getting a literal date time, current time, start time, and then this is my method. It's basically saying, give me that countdown, that span ID that I just showed you, because that's the thing I'm going to update frequently. And if you don't find it, return, obvious, we will find it. Just as a sanity check. Then it's basically saying that, hey, get me the current time, which will be different than this one, in seconds. And then if the current time is greater than that, and again, you will see that I do a subtraction of the current time from the start time which is started, which is this guy right here, and then basically convert that to second. So if that second happens to be more than 60 seconds, that's my limit, right? If you want to change it to 10 seconds, just change this to 10. So this is where the change that you have to make. Then go ahead. If it's more than 60, meaning I want to refresh it now, so it's basically putting this message, and it can get from that stext, which is getting it from the properties file right here. That's the message. And go ahead. This is where it uses that topic. It says go to the CoinGecko table with this ID, and if you scroll to the right, that's the ID of the table. And this is what the database name says jQuery. I mean, it says that use the jQuery, start with jQuery themes to show the different things. So anyway, this is the ID. So it's basically saying go to that table and trigger this topic, reload CoinGecko table list, right? And the topic is right here, reload CoinGecko table list, which basically says that, okay, it's time to refresh it, and it will automatically call this Ajax again and reload the table seamlessly. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm resetting the start time. That's all this is, right? But if it's not 60 seconds yet, it's going to go to the else, and it's just going to put the message saying refreshing in whatever the current seconds left in seconds. And then when everything's said and done, it's calling the same method again. So it kind of goes into a recursive function, and you can tell. And the very first time, how does the function gets called? By this. So that's about it. It's fairly simple, and that's where all the magic happens. It looks pretty simple, and it is simple, but a lot of moving parts that's in there. It works seamlessly. The only other thing that I'm going to show you is I have used this CoinGecko API, which is right here, and I can put a link in the description below or also in the GitHub. So the URLs that I used is this, the API's ping, and something called market right here. But again, if you watched my previous video, feel free to watch it. I have put a little bit more information on there about Pro and all that. So that's all for today. Just to summarize, what you have to do is this. Download your OpenJDK 19, then download your Tomcat, then download the Eclipse JEE, configure your JDK, configure the Tomcat server, then check out the CoinGecko API client, the Java version from the JIT, and then import this code as a Maven project. First compile and build, then run locally, test with your internet browser, which will automatically open up if you do everything right. So thank you very much for watching. If this video added any value to your day-to-day technology skills and development skills and programming skills, please do subscribe my channel and hit that bell icon so that you get notified for any new subsequent videos. That's all for today. Take care. Bye now.